Hey guys, welcome to our first episode of Between the Watts. We're going to go over the latest from Sea Otter 2025 with the latest trends in e-bikes. We're going to talk about some cool new gear we have to share with you guys, and then the elephant in the room that everybody wants to know about. What is the deal with the latest on tariffs and e-bikes? So let's jump into it.
Okay, so with this podcast, Between the Watts, what we are going to be doing is really taking this as an opportunity where once a week, every other week, we're going to come out and we're going to go a little deeper into everything related to e-bikes, right? We review a ton of bikes, but in our reviews, we can't really cover everything that we want to. We talk to a ton of brands, we go to a lot of events, we pay attention to a lot of news, talk to industry players. That's kind of what we're going to be doing here, is really trying to add to the conversation of everything related to e-bikes with you.
Yeah, and even beyond that, I get a lot of questions from you guys in my individual reviews. You guys ask some great questions, and sometimes you notice I give really long-winded answers in there. That's because there's a lot I want to share with you guys about that question, but we don't always have the time or the ability to do it with the reviews, so we thought, let's just have a dedicated space. We could talk about this stuff, industry trends, your guys' questions, and we have some fun things like bike upgrades we're going to be doing. We're going to take a couple bikes that are already good e-bikes to begin with, and we're going to throw some cool parts on them and see how much cooler we can make them. So that'll be fun to share with you guys as well. But speaking of fun things, you just got back from Sea Otter.
I did.
Tell us about it.
I am tired, very tired. Sea Otter's basically, it's one of the premier bicycle events in the United States. If you haven't been, very much so traditional mountain bikes, gravel bikes. So there's a lot of really cool EMTB launches. Headlined, I would say, by the Turbo Levo. Super cool bike, really powerful, stepping up into that 100 Newton meter watt kind of power.
I bet that feels good.
Yeah. We're going to be riding that one soon, so we'll see.
Good.
Tons of gravel bikes there that I want to steal that are not electric. I know you would have wanted to.
If you took me to Sea Otter, I wouldn't have worked. I would have just raced everything.
Yeah, I feel like you want to come back.
Yeah.
But with that being said, there was a couple themes that came out of Sea Otter that have actually been coming out over the past 4 or 5 years that I think are really kind of cool. And the first one is there was a big change in the what I'll call the sponsorship guard, right? There's been some classic companies that have sponsored Sea Otter really heavily in the past. And this year, as soon as me and Michael drove into Sea Otter, one of the things that hit us was there was Aventon banners everywhere.
Oh, they had a big presence?
They had a really big presence. So they became one of the kind of marquee sponsors of Sea Otter. This is the first year. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just emblematic of what we've seen the last 4 or 5 years in the e-bike space, right? So back during COVID, 2020, when we went to Sea Otter, there was almost no e-bike brands there. I mean, there was a few, but people would kind of turn their nose up against us. They didn't really want to talk to us because we were cheaters, right? That slowly grew. Last year, Aventon had a booth kind of off to the side, kind of small, not a huge presence. They had just launched the Rambless, and we're getting some people interested in that. But this year, totally different. So we walk in, banners everywhere for Aventon, and their booth, it's on Sponsorship Row. They are smack dab right next to Specialized and Bosch.
That's pretty massive if you think about it.
Yeah. So it was kind of, Aventon has been a brand that's been pushing into that mid-level, higher performance side of e-bikes. And is just, again, emblematic of what's been happening in the space where you have those more traditional DTC brands, your, Rad Power bikes, your Aventon, your Electrics, Velotrix, that are now starting to kind of creep up and compete with the bigger names in the industry, the Specialized, the Treks. Mm-hmm. And this just really hit me in the face. Like, oh, this is finally the year that it really kind of happens.
It's getting really mainstream. Yeah.
Yeah. And you saw the photos of, Aventon launched a couple really cool bikes. The one that really stood out was the full suspension Rambless.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that thing looks ridiculous.
Yeah. It looks really cool. Obviously it was a prototype, had a front triangle that was fully carbon. The rear, they're sticking with alloy. So they're not going crazy with things that they're not like really good yet. So no flip chips, no adjustable chainstays. But the bike looks really cool. And it's that step that Aventon is taking into, again, Specialized, Giant, Orbea, Trek territory to compete with them. They're putting the money where that, behind it. And the other brands are starting to have to respond. So we actually talked with a couple of brands. We can't say which ones yet because these bikes are yet to be launched. But those bigger name brands are also coming out with models that fit more in that lifestyle category. So the 2000-ish range, commuters, kind of all around bikes, they're coming in. And it was really kind of interesting because when we're talking to them, they brought up specifically they're competing against the Aventon Level 3.
The fact that they acknowledge that is wild to me.
Yeah.
Because we're talking years of big companies not really acknowledging the up and comers that were having kind of some disruption in e-bikes or bike sales in general. So it's really cool to see that acknowledgement.
Yeah. And it's the couple reasons why I'm excited about this trend that we're seeing is, number one, a lot of the, I'll call it innovation for the common person, has come from those less expensive lifestyle brands, right? Their quality has improved drastically over the last 4 years. And they're the ones that have really been, for class 3 throttles on a class 2, some of these things that older, more traditional cyclists kind of thumb their noses at. But honestly, the vast majority of the population want some of those features. And so that feature set's been pushed in many regards from those lifestyle brands. Now, as the larger brands come in, what I think we're going to start seeing is additional innovation that they'll pull down from their higher lines and bring into that market where we're just going to continue to see better and better and better bikes built for the consumer. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, only good things are going to come from that because they're kind of fighting for that consumer lifestyle bike market. And for a long time, for the last couple of years, it's felt like when you go to some of the bigger brands' websites, they're catering to people who want really high-end, high-performance bikes. And there's a couple bikes for regular folks. And now we see all these e-bike brands who are building the bikes that people want. And now the big brands are coming back down going, hold on, we can do that too. So it's kind of fun to watch this. And I think ultimately you're right. The only person who really wins is the consumer who's going to get this competition result in a better bike.
Yeah. And I think, again, you actually reviewed most of these bikes, but I think Ride One Up is also another example of like the Roadster V3. Like there's a couple of bikes that they've come out with in this past year that are just, from a cyclist, like an endemic cyclist perspective, you kind of love those bikes.
It's literally the bike I commute to work on. I don't even own it. It's here. You guys own this bike.
Yeah.
I love the bike. I just ride it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So just really kind of cool things in general. And then the last part that I do think that's nice, it does kind of put some downward pressure on the pricing for bicycles, right?
Yes.
Like I don't think we want to live in a world where in order to get a good high performance bike, you need to spend $10,000 plus.
I hope we never get to that world.
Yeah. I mean, there's some really cool ones out there.
I'll never have a great bike if that's the case.
Most people won't, right? Unless somehow a company will send it to us and we got to keep it for free.
Yeah.
Right? But you're just not going to buy that kind of bike in mass. And we want to get as many people as we can riding bikes, out of cars, smiling as they ride to work. Is kind of one of our goals. And that, again, that trend is something that I'm continuing to see, even though Sea Otter, we'll get to the tariff part a little bit later, that kind of cast a interesting shadow over the event to some degree. Again, we'll cover that later.
Yeah.
But there were several bright spots with fun bike launches, this continuing growing trend of lifestyle brands stepping up, making better bikes, and now being part of the mainstream conversation.
Yeah, super cool to see that happen. Interested to see where it goes, but I think aside from the pricing part and the tariff kind of unknown parts that we'll get into, just on the surface level, the subject matter in general, it's good. It's headed in the right direction. They're making more bikes more accessible to more people, which is just a net win for everybody.
Agreed.
All right, guys. So one of the sponsors of this show is Pedro's Tools, as you can probably tell behind me with the full wall of bike tools. When we had this show idea, we kind of talked to each other about going with brands, reaching out to them, looking for sponsors, but we wanted to make sure it was actually companies that we like what they're doing, we like what they have, and we use their products. And so Pedro's was high up on that list. So we reached out, they loved the idea, and as you can see, sent us some of their tools, which is super cool. And if you guys like to tinker on your bikes, I do my own maintenance on all my bikes, and I made the mistake of buying a cheap sub $50 Amazon bike stand and a cheap sub $50 Amazon bike toolkit. And while it works 5 to 10% of the time like it should, I usually spend 90% of the time cussing under my breath trying to fix my bike. So having the right tool for the job is a massive, massive important part of taking care of your bike. And Pedro's has some really solid stuff, specifically these $5 tire spoons. Tire spoons are not all created equal. I have used and broken many tire spoons with a tough tire trying to get it on a rim. These hold up really well and they're $5. I could talk about these for days, but they're super solid. Another one that's worth looking at is a vice whip. So you guys have seen chain whip tools that have a chain lever on it. You guys can wrap it around the sprocket to remove a rear cassette. This is a one-handed option. You just simply set it on your cassette. Then you can loosen it with the other hand. You don't need that third hand to deal with a chain like a typical chain whip has. This is a lifesaver tool. And then finally, e-bike owners, we put a lot of stress on our drivetrains, especially our chains. And this is going to allow you to just drop it into your chain, get a quick measurement, and see how much life is left in your chain, how far you're wearing those pulleys and bearings on it. And you'll know when you need a new chain. And that's going to help just kind of figure out why your shifting might be going bad or why you're having issues with your drivetrain. Something simple like this can take a huge headache off your shoulders. So anyway, those are some of the things I really like. If you guys like their stuff, definitely check it out. They've got everything from individual parts to full-on toolkits, everything from for the hobbyist to full bike shop service kits. They've got it all. Limited lifetime warranties on everything they have. I'll leave a link down below. No affiliate link, just something we like to share with you guys, and we figured might as well shout them out.
Yeah, so again, we want to say thanks to Pedro's for sending us that. And just to be very clear on sponsorships, we will let you know who is a sponsor, who is not, when we're talking, when we can make money from some of these people through affiliate programs or from advertising. We want to be as transparent as we can. We obviously need to eat. We have a pretty big team. A lot of work goes into this, but we will be very clear, transparent, and open with you on anything we do with sponsorships. Okay. So for this next segment, we want to give you an idea of some of the projects that we're working on kind of coming down the pipeline. So with that, Mike, what's up next?
So busy with reviews. Good thing about spring every year is a lot of new bikes come in, a lot of new brands and new bike models come out. So anyway, we've been very busy here, a lot of things coming in, but some new reviews coming out that I think a lot of people are going to like. One is the new Trex FX Plus 7S. It's a really slick commuter, mid-drive TQ, just a very nice put together bike. I think you guys are going to like that one. And Specialized is did release their new Turbo Levo SL2, but in alloy. We've done the carbon EQ, but this is their new one in alloy. It's quite a few thousand cheaper than that carbon model, which I know some of you guys will be happy about. But anyway, another sweet bike. Excited to share it.
Yeah, I'm really interested on that because it's like the SL, so the super light.
It's like an oxymoron. Yeah, it doesn't really work. Like the super light alloy.
But I have a feeling it's going to work. We'll see.
If anybody can pull it off, Specialized probably pull it off.
Yeah. Other things we have coming up, if you follow us on social, you'll saw that Aventon just launched a new Adventure 3 and an Adventure mid-drive. And so that's going to be, I know we have the Adventure 3 on the way to put through its testing. The official launch date, I think, is in a couple weeks on that bike. But really, they did from a looks perspective, they look like they really cleaned up the geo of the bike and are starting to make these fat tire, 26-inch fat tire bikes actually handle like bikes. A lot of traditional cyclists really push back on those fat tires because they're like, that's not a bike. But I like how they kept the more upright, relaxed geometry. The reach is a little bit shorter. So the person that's been buying the Adventure in those fat tires, I think is going to like it even more. And then if you want to take one step further, mid-drive could make that bike feel really peppy and responsive.
I can't wait to ride that one. That's going to be cool.
Yeah, with that A100 motor, 100 newton meters of torque, just really powerful.
And that's the same A100 they put in their Rambler that we all loved. Yeah.
Yes,
cool.
We will see if it has a different kind of programming and kind of power settings on it. But at least the specs in terms of the torque and the watts, that should be all the same. So they can do a lot with that motor.
Cool. Yeah, I can look forward to see that one.
Yeah, and then we also have some Embargo bikes that we can't mention brands or the types of bikes that are coming out, but there are 3 of those on the docket. And then also we have a bike launch that we're going to be going to next week. We don't know if it's going to be 1 bike or 2 bikes. So again, springtime, always get really cool stuff. And we definitely have some really cool things coming in those reviews, peppered in with some other bikes that we've been meaning to get to reviews. In addition, we're going to continue with the show. And so with that, let us know if there's other things that you want to see from us. Like I think you guys are going to really like it when Mike starts geeking out on some of those bike builds.
Hopefully you like it.
I always like it. He's always tinkering around. And so this is a way to channel his creativity.
I couldn't have a better task.
Yes. Yeah. The other last thing that we wanted to say is we're going to add a section occasionally where we answer your questions. So if you do have specific questions, specific comments, things that, you think we can do better in our reviews, better in our coverage of the industry, or just have questions about different things, definitely put those in here because we will go through those as best as we can.
Yeah, even basic things about your e-bike, maybe you're not sure how to do it or find a part, or just things that come up in the world of owning an e-bike. If it's been burning your mind and you want to have an answer to it, just drop it in the comments. We'll take all the ones that we start to see a unique theme from, and we will just make sure we address those and hopefully clear it up for you.
Yeah.
All right, so this is where we're going to talk about probably the most unfun thing on the episode today, and that is going to be tariffs. We've all heard about it. We all know what's going on, but it also seems to change like day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. So based on what we know so far, can you kind of just give us a rundown? I know you've deep dove into this already. I try to stay out of that kind of stuff because I know I'm not qualified for it. But what do you know about the tariffs right now? Like, what's the current state?
I need a deep breath. So first of all, this really is changing day by day. In some cases, something will be announced in the morning. Later at night, there'll be a tweet or something that comes out that changes things. And so there is a lot of confusion in general in the bicycle industry. Now, that being said, I want to take a step back and give kind of an overview of where we have come in the last, whopping 10 days, 2 weeks, and things that have changed and things that we've heard from the brands as we've talked to them, manufacturers. And then again, just give an idea of where we're currently at, but note that we are going to be updating this as we go. Expect an update weekly, bi-weekly, whenever we need to, because it is a big thing in the industry. So stepping back, on April 2nd, the Trump administration announced what they called Liberation Day, right? Where essentially they announced a broad sweeping tariff that really, they're the largest tariff rate hike since the Smoot-Hawley Act of 1930. So we're going back a long time since something this dramatic and this drastic was done. And it really caught a lot of brands completely off guard and unaware. There was a lot of brands that I've spoken to in the last 4 or 5 years who, they had read the tea leaves, right? They knew that the previous Trump administration and China didn't get along super well, right? And so they had already been shifting manufacturing out of China to places like Vietnam, Cambodia. Obviously, a ton of bicycle manufacturing already happens in Taiwan, Philippines, just a lot of different places in an effort to kind of stay out of the fray and not get caught up in something. And what was so shocking and unexpected is when they announced these tariffs on, again, Liberation Day, they added a base tariff and a reciprocal tariff on pretty much every country in the world almost, right? And especially with all the e-bike producing countries, those were all hit. So the Cambodias, the Vietnams, all of those places where people had shifted production to, they all of a sudden got wrapped up, and brands were just kind of left going, wait, how are we going to do this? In fact, Turn, right, as bicycle retailer, wrote that piece up on Turn, how they had a big shipment coming already. It was in transport. It hadn't landed at the dock yet. And had it landed with those tariffs, they would have paid over $1 million in duties.
So what'd they do with
that? So they actually decided that they were going to ship it to either Mexico or Canada because it's just not viable. They were expecting $20,000 to $30,000 in fees, and that was going to go balloon to $1 million, right?
Slightly out of budget.
Slightly out of budget. Turn's a good brand. They do a lot, but that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
you can't, they don't have margins like that work, right? And so while all of this was going on, everyone's trying to figure out what is the future, what's happening next, right? So I was trying to figure out, usually when you're talking economics, when you're talking tariffs, the general purpose when you talk to economists are put in place in order to protect nascent industry, protect manufacturing, protect local jobs. And at least, and again, I'm only speaking on the e-bike space, you don't have that in the United States. People don't manufacture.
Like an existing e-bike?
Yeah, like you're not making derailleurs. You're not making chains.
I don't think any are made here.
Bike frames. Like there are, companies that will assemble them here.
Sure.
But as far as make here.
Or maybe small in-house like niche brands, but not like large component setups.
Correct. I mean, you have some bike racks that are made and built in the U.S., but even my understanding on a lot of those is some of the steel, like there's brands that try to do everything from the U.S., but some of the steel comes from Canada.
Yeah.
Comes from other places. So there really was not one part of the bicycle industry that these tariffs did not seriously hit, right? Now, as most of you know, a week later, right, the Trump administration did come out and they put a moratorium of 90 days on kind of a negotiation window, we're hoping, where those countries can sit down with the Trump administration and negotiate to get, better rates on both ends, is kind of the goal, right? And kind of funny story. So we flew out a little bit early to Sea Otter to test out some new EMTBs that are coming out. So we were in Santa Cruz and we were climbing. You have no cell reception there, right? And the entire tone of everything is just kind of down and dreary because they don't know what's going to happen with these tariffs. And we get to the very top finally, and you have like one tiny spot where you get reception. People's phones started buzzing. And one of the guys was like, oh, they paused the tariffs. And one of the brands there just kind of made a side comment of, oh, so we still have a bike business.
That pretty much like encompasses the sentiment of the industry right now.
Yeah, it really was, because when you add a tariff that large, so abrupt, that is so widespread and sweeping without any plan to, like, I haven't seen any discussion of, here's where we're going to invest in bicycle manufacturing. Here's where we're going to, government subsidies or tax breaks or something with a long-term plan. That just wasn't there. And as I've talked to different brands about this, the biggest complaint that I've heard is they have no idea what to plan for, right? So if you don't know what the tariff is going to be tomorrow, 6 months down the road, or even 12 months down the road, it makes it really hard to budget, because they're not just, oh, I sold 10 bikes today, I'm ordering 10 more from the factory.
They're forecasting.
Yeah, they're doing the best to forecast,
Yeah.
right? I mean, Wall Street doesn't forecast very good. Do you really think bike brands are going to be that great at forecasting?
Yeah.
It's very hard to do. And so, essentially the overall mood is kind of one right now where it started was just like doom and gloom, just like the markets. Everything was tanking. Everybody was freaking out. We saw some brands come and, talk about raising prices. Some pulled back on the pricing. Right now we're kind of in this little breath of relief where there's hope that, hey, over the next 75 days or whatever we're at now, there might be some changes that happen, but be prepared for a bumpy ride. And how that translates to you as someone who's watching this, if you're looking to buy a bike this summer and you're kind of going, do I need to do it now? Do I need to do it later? We don't have a crystal ball. So that's a tough one. It really is. I think chances are the pricing might go up. We've already started to see that, right? Like you were kind of analyzing some prices yesterday and saw a couple bikes that
so
were kind of sad to see go up.
Yeah, Ride went up, sent an email out to all their customer base, and I'm on their email list like everybody else. And it just basically said all of our bikes are going to go up on May 1st, with the exception of the Roadster and I think the Tariffs. Those price hikes are already in place. And so I went and looked at the Roadster V3, which started at $1,195, and it just felt like this incredible deal when it came out. And I think now it's up to around $1,500, which is still a good price for that bike. It's a really good bike. But those are the types of things that can give some sticker shock if you were thinking about getting a bike and then you go back and look and like, oh, it's $500 more. So it's kind of a gut punch for some people. So it's kind of hard to say what the right answer is on when to buy. Do you know when multiple parts come from multiple countries, how are they assessing the value of a tariff on it doesn't really make sense to me, to be honest.
It's really complicated. I am not an expert. And so I am actually putting together a list of questions to send to people that we know in the industry, people for bikes. We had a really good discussion over Sea Otter with a couple other brands to find out exactly as much as they can tell right now. Again, this is changing day by day, but it is very complicated. Like the frame might come from one place, the derailleur from another, the steel or the,
raw
all
materials,
of those things come into play. And really, I think when you look at it from an entire supply chain standpoint, I cannot find a single part of that process that in some way won't be impacted by the tariffs. Even if you had all the raw materials, all the components, you literally manufactured it, engineered it, built it here, your box or the plastic or the styrofoam that you use to ship it might come from a different country. The gas that you know to load up the trailer and ship it, the semi, ship it to somewhere, that gas might come from Canada, might come from another country. So, and once it gets there, the light bulbs that are in the bike shop might come from another. Like, we just don't manufacture everything here in the United States. And it's going to impact things.
Yeah.
Like, again, we don't know. It might get rolled back tomorrow, might be rolled back and then put back in. So just, again, be prepared a little bit for a bumpy ride. We will keep you updated. And when we get those answers to those questions back, we will let you know. And in fact, we're going to try to even possibly bring some people onto the podcast so we can have a little more deeper dialogue, because I'm not an import-export expert. Yeah. We review bikes, right? Yeah. We do talk to a lot of companies and get into the business side of things quite a bit, but I can't answer that question fully.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. There's a lot of uncertainty right now, and hopefully we don't have to bring in an expert months from now. Hopefully it's done. But based on the look on your face, we'll probably have someone come in and talk to us about it. But either way, it'd be nice to learn more about it and kind of understand it better.
Okay, so in order to not end the show on kind of more the downer side of things with tariffs.
You don't think tariffs are fun?
Oh, so much fun. Let's go to something cool. Let's go to the gear bag.
Fair.
So what we're going to do in the show is we get a ton of things sent to us. It's kind of one of the big perks of the job. We get reached out to all the time. Hey, can I send you the helmet? Can I send you the shirt? Can I send you, etc. We don't always bring those in, and we definitely don't always highlight them. The products that we get that we do really like, these are products that we ourselves like, products that we ourselves would buy, we will highlight in the show. And that's what we're going to do today. We have some pretty cool shirts from Club Ride.
It's the best I've looked all week, I might say. This is their Western original shirt. So they sent us some of their shirts. I really didn't know what to think of these when we got them. I thought, okay, sure, I'll wear your shirt. But I've actually really grown to like this. There's a couple of reasons why. One is I commute every day to work on a bike, and this has little reflective accents everywhere. So when I leave work later in the evening and I'm around headlights and things like that, it just helps with extra visibility. They've also got a microfiber sunglass cloth built into it. And when I'm mountain biking, they have a hidden pocket on here so I can just toss my key fob or whatever I'm doing. I don't have to worry about bringing extra gear with me or having some place to put it. A lot of times mountain bike shorts don't really have great pockets. So I just thought they were really solid stuff. And it kind of feels like clothing brand built by bikers for bikers, because the stuff really has these little creature comforts that if you ride a bike, you're going to like and appreciate.
Yeah, they just incredibly comfortable. I went with a little bit different. I went with the men's Motive Ultra breathable shirt. The color, I just love the name of the color. I can't pronounce it. Burnt ochre, something like that. But the reason why I went with this one is because it gets hotter than hell down here, right? Like when I'm out riding with the Nike kids, even at like 6 a.m, you're already at like 80.
I'm already feeling
degrees.
those temperatures.
Yeah, it's coming. So I wanted something very light and breathable that I can wear on the trail, but then also I can wear it off and it can look nice. Like I actually wore this last week. We went to a dinner with Sea Otter. We went to dinner with people for bikes at Sea Otter, and this is what I wore to the restaurant. So
they do have that ability to kind of go with you, whatever you have going on in your day. Mm-hmm. And as someone who is a self-proclaimed ridiculously gross sweater, I like having air vents under my armpits. So just little things like that. I think they make cool clothes. In fact, I just bought some more on my own because I liked it.
Yeah. So, and again, yeah, he did not get sent that second shipment. So that just shows we really do like it. That being said, we do earn an affiliate commission if you do buy from the links below. We always appreciate that support. But that's the gear that we have this week. We'll continue to bring on cool gear. If you guys have requests of, hey, I'd love you to try this or to try that, send it through. If we already have it, we'll just add it to the lineup. If we don't, we can also potentially reach out and get brands to send that to us in the segment.
All right, guys. So there you go. Our first episode of Between the Watts is in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully we cover some topics you're interested in. And if we didn't, that's your opportunity and your sign. You should drop a comment down below and let us know what we need to bring up in the next episodes. Justin, you got anything before we go?
No, I think we covered it. Just again, if you have any questions, let us know.
Awesome. We'll see you guys next time.